Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, today has been a day of reflection and a day of immense pride and satisfaction. As I observed my colleagues who were presenting for the first time in a budget debate, Mr. Speaker, I couldn't help but remind myself that ours is a formidable team. I observed the member for Choiseul, Mr. Speaker, and Saltibus, who had a masterful presentation here this morning. And he was followed, Mr. Speaker, by the Member of Parliament for Vieux-Fort South, who gave a very good account of himself to the extent that I was receiving text messages, Mr. Speaker, of superlatives that have never been ascribed to a politician in a maiden address ever since I came here. And then, Mr. Speaker, we had the eloquence and the brilliance of the member for Castries Southeast, who on election day, as she quite rightly pointed out, did something many doubted she had the ability to do. And what is most refreshing, and I'm coming to Barbono, Mr. Speaker, about the presentation and the presence of the member for Castries Southeast, is that I sat in this parliament and a previous member from Castries Southeast who was untouchable, who, Mr. Speaker, postured, and you should have seen him enter through this door, files and folders. And there was a particular day when he came with guavas, fruits, Mr. Speaker, making a presentation. And when he stood in this house, Mr. Speaker, we watched from the other side. Notwithstanding, the presentations were always devoid of substance and reflected somebody who was forever intellectually challenged. But today, Mr. Speaker, in the current member for Castries Southeast, you have a model representative and somebody who represents the future of the Labour Party and government in St. Lucia. And Mr. Speaker, the member for Barbono, I must say his was an unusually long shopping list. He asked for practically everything that was mentioned, Mr. Speaker. And I may have missed it when I went outside. The only thing I didn't hear him ask for was an airport for Barbono. But Mr. Speaker, his was a confidence of a man who understands his mandate and his assignment on behalf of the people of Barbono. Mr. Speaker, I also reflected on the fact that for the first time since I entered this chamber 14 years ago, I am participating in a budget debate without the presence of the former parliamentary rep for Vieux-Fort South, former Prime Minister, Dr. Kenny D. Anthony. In the 13 previous presentations, Mr. Speaker, the former Prime Minister was always there when we served in government together from 2011 to 2016, and again in opposition from 2016 to 2021. But that having been said, I know Vieux-Fort South is in very capable hands and that the baton has been passed on to a member, Mr. Speaker, who understands his people and has rolled up his sleeves to work for Vieux-Fort and for the children of St. Lucia. Mr. Speaker, I will also crave your indulgence to congratulate Mr. John Edward, better known as Transtar or Kaputut or Waya, who will be honored on Sunday at the investiture ceremony, Mr. Speaker, with a Le Piton medal. He has provided 41 years of unbroken service as a bus driver to the people of the Mabuya Valley, plying the route from the valley to Castries daily, transporting government workers, school children, and anybody who has business to conduct in the city center. And Mr. Speaker, before I move to the estimates, I want to express condolences to the families of individuals in Denry North who would have passed, in particular, the family of Anthony Rethal, better known as Eamon, the family of Mr. Joe, and very recently the family of Raga, better known as, or Marius, better known as Raga. Mr. Speaker, I rise for the 14th time in as many years to contribute to a debate on the estimates of revenue and expenditure, commonly referred to as the budget. And in March Some persons are rising like baking powder, others rise as yeast, and others rise as parliamentarian. And I saw some, Mr. Speaker, rising at the press conference. This is not where I want to rise. I want to rise in the House. I want to rise with a mandate given to me by the people of Denrinoff. And in much the same way, Mr. Speaker, I pledged my absolute support to the estimates of last year and the previous years. I stand today, Mr. Speaker, in solidarity with the Prime Minister and Minister for Finance and wholeheartedly support the estimates for the financial year 2026-2027 in the sum of $2.18 billion. Mr. Speaker, I have been assigned the portfolio of infrastructure, port services, and energy. It is a portfolio, Mr. Speaker, that much is said about. Mr. Speaker, Head 43 points us to the Ministry of Infrastructure, Port Services, and Energy. And the mandate of that agency, Mr. Speaker, is to develop and maintain modern and resilient infrastructure that supports social and economic development through road safety, high levels of electrical installation, and the maintenance of civil infrastructure throughout our country. And for this, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Infrastructure has been allotted a whopping $103,104,600, of which, Mr. Speaker, $92.8 million is for capital projects and $39.2 million represents recurrent expenditure. And so, Mr. Speaker, when my colleagues hear 103 million, expectations begin to soar. Demands become many. And today, Mr. Speaker, I notice, even if the member for Soufrière has not presented, MPs have come with long shopping lists and huge bags, expecting projects and programs to be rolled out in their respective constituencies. Mr. Speaker, roads have become synonymous with infrastructure or the Ministry of Infrastructure. And a lot of the monies you see in the budget for 2026-2027 are monies that have been committed to contractors with whom the government entered DFC agreements. And what do I mean by DFC? A DFC is an arrangement where the government sits with a competent contractor and gives the contractor the green light, the go-ahead, to embark on state projects, with the arrangement being that the contractor will be compensated in the future. For example, Mr. Speaker, Mac and Denry South Community Roads, $25 million. In these estimates, we have committed $5.6 million this year to repay the contractor who would have embarked on road rehabilitation projects in Denry South and in Mac. The Majomel Road, Mr. Speaker, which was constructed to the tune of $9.4 million. Mr. Speaker, in this financial year, we are committing $1.8 million towards repayment for the Majomel Road. The Grosley and Castries North Road projects, where 58 roads were attended to, Mr. Speaker, approximately $40 million, we are committing $9.2 million to Mr. Speaker, repay. And I must tell you with all sincerity that notwithstanding approximately 58 roads were attended to in Grosley and Castries North, the assessment of the Ministry of Infrastructure indicates that we have even more roads to look at in the two constituencies that I mentioned. But one would understand, Mr. Speaker, that when the resources are not as plentiful as we want them to be, there must be room for equity to ensure that other communities are touched. And so, with a total of $10 million for roads, lumped, Mr. Speaker, or spread over under three heads, the RIM 5, $6 million, Recon and Rehab, $2 million, and potholing, $2 million, Mr. Speaker, we have to ensure that the $10 million that I've just mentioned is used in a manner to bring relief to every one of the 17 constituencies in this country. And so the Richmond to Tamazo section of the West East Coast Highway must be given consideration. And anybody who's objective, Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the fact that this stretch of road happens to be in my constituency, will conclude that this is the worst section of any highway in this country. And part of this, Mr. Speaker, is the doing of the water company, which continues to dig almost daily, attending to pipes as they rupture. But I'm happy to report, Mr. Speaker, that pipe relaying has commenced, and from what the WASCO personnel are saying, that we have just under 100 meters to replace pipes, and thereafter the road will be the purview of the Ministry of Infrastructure to ensure that there is a brand new surface. Mr. Speaker, the Vigier Road has been spoken about and will be considered. Cedar Heights will be considered. Flamboyant Drive in Rosilea will be considered. The Richford Ring Road, the St. Mary Road, the Guyabra Road, the Kubaril Road, and I have a long list of roads that I'm not able to mention in the interest of time. But I've also been told that the Cate Road in Labrie and the Vigier Road in Vieux-Fort North are currently being attended to, and they are on the list. And soon from now, Mr. Speaker, we will be seeing movement on those routes. Mr. Speaker, in the budget, there's an allocation for the Shock Bridge project. The Shock Bridge project is a critical piece of infrastructure linking Castries to Grosile. Mr. Speaker, the project has been estimated in total at $21.8 million. But in this year's allocation, Mr. Speaker, $14.8 million has been allotted. And that amount will take into consideration construction of superstructure and substructure, and also $7 million, Mr. Speaker, for obtaining the bridge and shipping it from the UK. An Atlas Bridge has been designed. It will have 4 lanes, or what we call a double carriageway, and all the pre-engineering and pre-fabricated material, Mr. Speaker, will come from the UK to give us a bridge of 36.6 meters in length. Mr. Speaker, the engineers have indicated to me, as the Minister for Infrastructure, that the proposed alignment will ensure that the current carriageway will become the diversion when construction begins. So instead, Mr. Speaker, of constructing a diversion and then demolish the bridge, and after completion to demolish the diversion itself, the existing carriageway will be used as the diversion, because the newly installed bridge, or to be installed bridge, will have an alignment that makes this necessary. I've been informed, Mr. Speaker, that it will span approximately 14 months from construction to completion. Also in the north, Mr. Speaker, is the Sir Julian Hunt Highway Reconstruction Project. Mr. Speaker, this project will be implemented in 3 sections. Shock Bridge to Marisil, 1.6 kilometers. 4-lane highway or double carriageway. And it has been estimated that this particular section of the road will cost the government of St. Lucia $20 million to be sourced from the OPEC fund. Mr. Speaker, section 2 of that particular project, Marisil Junction to Moshi, 2.3 kilometers, financing arrangements are currently being finalized, and the technical designs will also be finalized in the coming weeks. Section 3, Moshi Junction to Grosile, 3 kilometers, $13 million from the QAT fund, Mr. Speaker. And let me say that the Ministry of Infrastructure is currently in conversation with WASCO to ensure that whatever remaining pipe works that need to be done by WASCO is done in a timely manner, so as to not delay the reconstruction of that section of the highway. Mr. Speaker, this project will call for patience on the part of road users. It will call for adjustments. And in as much as the ministry is prepared to explore construction activity at night, it is important that all of us in here, in particular the member for Grosile and civil society organizations, appeal to residents in the north to exercise patience as we attempt to give them a road that will alleviate some of the traffic nightmares they've had to endure for many, many years. Mr. Speaker, we know what obtains with the current road condition. Traffic backs up for kilometer upon kilometer. Loss of productive hours. Students get stuck in the traffic, resulting in loss of instruction time. And this cannot augur well for the future viability of our country. Mr. Speaker, the Millennium Highway West Coast Road upgrade. In this year's estimates, we have $15.7 million allocated for the Millennium Highway West Coast Road upgrade. Mr. Speaker, the project entails improvement to condition of the road as it exists, retaining walls, improved surface, improved drainage, sidewalks, etc. And then we have the project affected persons component, where homes will be constructed by individuals who are being impacted by the project in a way significant enough to cause them to relocate. There's also the construction of the Roseau Food Court and Souvenir Market, Mr. Speaker, as part of that project. And I am pleased with what I've seen so far, notwithstanding that the project has been delayed by over 1 year, but the quality of work that we see from the Ministry of Infrastructure, Mr. Speaker, I believe is in keeping with the monies spent thus far. Mr. Speaker, this is a road with a lot of economic benefits. This is a road that links your capital to your main tourism market, Soufrière. This is a road that takes people to the Sulphur Springs, the Pitons, that goes through Ancillary, that goes through Canneries and Roseau, Mr. Speaker. And I believe that when that road is completed, those communities will be impacted in a very, very positive way. Mr. Speaker, I move on to program rivers and watercourse management. $3.5 million. This is the head under which we desilt rivers, we desilt ravines, and we desilt main watercourses to allow for free flow of water to mitigate against flooding. Mr. Speaker, priority must be given to communities that are known to be flood-prone. Bexar, Ancillary, Denry Village, Shock, Odson, Corinth, etc., Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I quickly move on to slope stabilization and retaining walls, for which the Ministry of Infrastructure has been allocated $1.5 million. Mr. Speaker, slope stabilization, as the name implies, is to halt the movement of soil from an elevated position onto our roads or into areas, Mr. Speaker, where people recreate and people live. Montego Bay Oleo has been identified as an area that will benefit. Goodlands, Mr. Speaker, Mon Repos, and this 1.5 million will be spread across communities to ensure that all the other communities benefit after the needs assessment has been done by the technical staff at the Ministry of Infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, bridges and culverts, $2 million. Construction of small bridges and culverts island-wide. And I will refrain from mentioning specific communities that are intended to benefit from this particular head, Mr. Speaker, because you will well appreciate that with $2 million, you cannot attend to every situation as it exists or as the situations exist. But once an objective needs assessment is carried out, the communities that are most deserving will benefit. Mr. Speaker, supervision of major capital projects. We've been allotted $606,000 under this particular head. From this amount, Mr. Speaker, we'll be paying salaries, housing, transportation, and general accommodation for personnel who usually complement the existing staff corps at the Ministry of Infrastructure. So consultants and other technical expertise, sometimes they do not necessarily reside at the ministry, but because there is a need for them when they come in, either to complement or to bring in new expertise, Mr. Speaker, we have to ensure that they are compensated and that they are looked after in ways that are fitting for whatever they've been brought in here to do. Upgrade of materials laboratory at the Ministry of Infrastructure, Mr. Speaker. Structural works will be undertaken. Calibration of equipment, maintenance of equipment, air conditioning, and general upkeep of the lab. The lab performs a very critical function. The lab is used not only by the Ministry of Infrastructure, but also private interests come to the lab, and the services are also available to them. And for that, I must commend the staff, in particular, Janelle Fevrier, who, Mr. Speaker, has been assigned responsibility for the materials laboratory at the Ministry of Infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, upgrade of the Dennery Mechanical Workshop, $492,000. Automatic security barrier for vehicular access. As we speak now, Mr. Speaker, any vehicle accessing the compound at the Dennery Mechanical Workshop has to wait for the security guard to leave her hut and come and lift the barrier. And, Mr. Speaker, sometimes even before the vehicle has traversed, the barrier is ready to come down. We are going to install an automatic security barrier for vehicular access at the Dennery Mechanical Workshop. Mr. Speaker, we'll also be doing work on the administrative building, changing cupboards, partitions to in the admin building, etc. And we will also be resurfacing the garage floor. We'll be procuring a tire repair machine. And as we speak, there is a pothole patcher, Mr. Speaker, at the Dennery Mechanical Workshop, for which a part is being sourced. And when that part is sourced from the UK, we will have 2 pothole patchers in operation, taking care of the potholing problems we have on the roads of our country. And I'm sure Mr. Rodriguez and Giles, who are stationed at this particular workshop, will welcome news of that particular intervention. Mr. Speaker, maintenance of public buildings. The Ministry of Infrastructure has responsibility for the maintenance of public buildings in this country. And for this, we've been allotted $2 million. Mr. Speaker, that money will be spent on the office complex at Union, the Ministry of Infrastructure office complex at Union. We will also be spending money on the Viewfort office of the Ministry of Infrastructure, Port Services and Energy, the Prime Minister's official residence, Government House, Mr. Speaker, and I'm sure His Excellency, the Governor General, will be happy to know that this year we have an allocation that will allow us to undertake repairs at Government House. The SSU Barracks Latok drainage works, Mr. Speaker, that will also be attended to, Mr. Speaker. And we are looking at the Viewfort Post Office as one of the public buildings that will receive assistance with this $2.0 million we get in for public buildings. The Bodily Correctional Facility perimeter lighting is also, Mr. Speaker, expected to be looked at under that particular head of expenditure. Rehabilitation of buildings, National Archives, has been listed, Mr. Speaker, as a line item. $600,000 has been allocated for the rehabilitation of the National Archives. Rehabilitation work on Building 1, Phase 2, is expected to commence, Mr. Speaker, shortly, thereby bringing relief to the workers at the National Archives. In particular, my friend who's the National Archivist, Mr. Patrick Freeman, who happens to be a constituent of mine. Mr. Speaker, the Uptown Garden Girls Center will also be receiving attention this year. And for this particular undertaking, the ministry will receive $250,000 to deal with the termite infestation, leaking roofs, the changing of doors, windows, etc. at the Uptown Gardens Girls Center. Mr. Speaker, the Division of Met Services resides in the Ministry of Infrastructure, Port Services and Energy. And this year, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Finance has allocated to the Ministry of Infrastructure $167,000 to help replace outdated machinery, computers, etc., upgrade specialized software, renewal of software licenses, etc., data management, cybersecurity for the staff at the Division of Met Services. And I'm sure Ms. Virgil Saltibus will be very happy to know that there is an allocation that will help deal with some of the complaints that they have brought to the attention of management in the Ministry of Infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, SLASPA is one of the statutory agencies that falls under the Ministry of Infrastructure. SLASPA has a very critical mandate in national development. SLASPA, Mr. Speaker, deals with the gateway, or they manage the gateway for travelers to our country, as well as goods or cargo. And this year, SLASPA receives a subvention of $2.85 million. But we all know that the operations of SLASPA, Mr. Speaker, would call for a lot more than $2.8 million. But the good thing about it is that SLASBA is a revenue-generating agency, and SLASBA can look after some of its own needs. I will be saying more about SLASBA with respect to the Hiranura International Airport Redevelopment Project in the debate on the appropriation bill. I will also be speaking, Mr. Speaker, in great detail about the work being undertaken at Berth 4 in Port Castries, as well as the CATCOP project at Hiranura International, where we're looking to improve the runway, navigational instruments, and things of that sort. Mr. Speaker, the energy portfolio or energy policy resides in the Ministry of Infrastructure, Port Services and Energy, as the name implies. And Mr. Speaker, like SLASPA and the projects in SLASPA, I will endeavor to speak in greater detail on the work that is being done in the energy department and the monies that we've been allotted to undertake some of the things we want to do in that particular department. Mr. Speaker, I now move to speak on the estimates and the potential impact the estimates can have on the constituency of Denrinof. And before, Mr. Speaker, I reference the various heads and the impact they can potentially have on my constituency, let me place on the record my profound gratitude once again to the people of Denrinof for having gone to the polls, as I indicated earlier, on 4 occasions, Mr. Speaker. They took the long lines, they stood in the sun, and on election days when we had rain, they stood in the rain. And there was one mission in mind, against the odds, despite what the detractors had said, despite the violence and the nastiness of the campaign, they were laser focused, going into the various polling stations to do one thing and one thing only in the majority, and that was to vote for Shawn Edward and the St. Lucia Labour Party. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, that is why the refrain, Mr. Speaker, is still alive today, 4 in a row. And if the Prime Minister, being the mystery that he is, decides that elections will be called later this year, I have every reason to believe that I will win my seat for a 5th consecutive time. Mr. Speaker, I understand public life to be an honor. I understand it to be a privilege. I am not in this to compete with my predecessors or with anybody, but to make a contribution on behalf of the people of Denrinof, to ensure that the people of Denrinof, who for decades toiled on the banana field to bring revenue to this country, and Mr. Speaker, were not adequately compensated for their efforts, I today can be a voice to ensure that when that national pie is being shared, Mr. Speaker, that they will get what is rightfully theirs. They will get what they rightfully deserve. So when, Mr. Speaker, I review the tips, because these days everything is online, and I listen to the nastiness that was being spewed by my detractors, Mr. Speaker, I just laugh and remind myself that I need to keep focus. Let me garder manière dernière élection à Alex by la qui a tapé dit about moi Labour Party, Mr. Speaker. Et bon Dieu moi de moi puis moun qui a supporté Labour Party then nous fait nous gagner élection. Ça a fait moi changer date, c'est pas tout ça moun dit ou ne peut répondre. Particularly là où savent pour qui raison ou en politique. Là où savent pour qui raison ou représenter moun à kai conseil. And Mr. Speaker, there's nothing that fuels my passion more than to know that the interventions I make improve the lives of the people of Denrinof, the people of Oleon and Despin, the people of Lapel and Larissus and Gadet, the people of Richford and Grand Ravine, Daniel Riviere Belmont, and the people of Grand Riviere Tamazo, Mr. Speaker. It is on their behalf I come to this parliament to agitate for things I believe they rightfully deserve and things that can improve, Mr. Speaker, their lot in life. Mr. Speaker, I will revisit Head 43, Ministry of Infrastructure. And this time I revisit this head as a parliamentary representative to speak about recon and rehab, to speak about potholing, to speak about RIM 5. And Mr. Speaker, there is an expectation from the people of Denrinof that their roads, and it is a legitimate expectation, Mr. Speaker, that the roads ought to get better attention. And I want to thank the Senior Minister with all sincerity, Mr. Speaker, for what he did in the Ministry of Infrastructure. Not just for my constituency, but I believe that the minister has been unfairly criticized. People have called him lazy. People have called him ineffective. Mr. Speaker, I sit at the Ministry of Infrastructure. I peruse the records, and I can tell you that I am exceedingly proud of the work that was done by the senior minister. Mr. Speaker, he is not a showman. So you won't see him posting on Facebook. But I reminded him in jest that, like everybody else, he has to come and ask for his roots. But Mr. Speaker, in as much as I control or I provide leadership in the ministry responsible for road rehabilitation, I understand that, Mr. Speaker, there must be a principle of equity to inform the distribution of the resources. It cannot be that because I am the MP for Dennery North and I happen to be in the Ministry of Infrastructure, that Dennery North will get resources that are not commensurate or that resources that exceed the expectations or the work program in Dennery North. I have gotten a lot, Mr. Speaker, by way of demands from the member for Grizzly. I have gotten a lot from the member for Vieux-Fort South. The Asuba Road, Mr. Speaker, in Babono was started before my time. And the member has asked me, when are we going to complete the Asuba Road? Mr. Speaker, we know about the situation in Vigier. I know it firsthand. The senior minister knows about it. The Prime Minister has spoken about it. And the minister with responsible for health and the 5-time parliamentary rep for Vieux-Fort North is always, Mr. Speaker, reminding of the state of the Vigier Road. And Mr. Speaker, let me place on the record today that the Vigier Road is the first road that will be attended to in this country once the budget is passed. And I will also place on the record that this has absolutely nothing to do with the recently installed dental unit at the Larissus Health Center. So for those of you thinking that this is payback for the dental unit, you are wrong. We have done the needs assessment, and even senior minister will agree that this road is in dire need of attention. Mr. Speaker, the Richmond Inner Road needs rehabilitation. The Richmond Ring Road, the Parkbeff Road in Olio, the Sir Arthur Lewis Community Farm Road, the Alemon Side Road in Grand Riviere, the Caddy Belmont Road, and there are so many other roads in the constituency of Dennery North that need that kind of assistance. I have been in the parliament, as I indicated, for 14 years. Mr. Speaker, I have read headlines for news items where roads are attended to in some constituencies as packages. In 2011 to 2016, there was a package for Choiseul, somewhere in the region of 17 million to deal with Fiat, Daba, and a few other roads. We have seen roads for Vieux-Fort North and Castries. We've seen for Groseley and Castries North. And let me say, Mr. Speaker, that those roads that were identified in those programs needed the attention. And I'm saying, moving forward, I think the time has come for us to broaden this particular scope to ensure that we do roads in some constituencies that have not been touched in ways others have been touched. And again, I will reiterate, Mr. Speaker, that our interventions will be informed by objective needs assessment. Mr. Speaker, I want to move to Head 44, the Department of Finance and Constituency Development. The Constituency Development Project, or the CDP as we know it. And this is the head of expenditure that excites me the most around budget time, the CDP. This time, Mr. Speaker, we see that the CDP has been allotted $20.8 million. Mr. Speaker, there's a history with the CDP. There is a history with the CDP. And if I have to be in this house for 40 years, I will remind honorable members, and by extension the people of St. Lucia, of the history of the CDP. Mr. Speaker, I sat in opposition. Or let's backtrack. Between 2011 and 2016, the CDP had a profound impact in the constituency of Dennery North and every other constituency in this country. The elections were held in 2016 and the government changed. And in came the United Workers' Party. CDP was in the estimates in their first year. It was there in their second year. They had CDP in the third and the fourth financial years. CDP was in the fifth year. And they said because of COVID, they dragged us into a sixth year. And CDP still featured prominently. And I sat in the chair that is currently occupied by the member for Castries Southeast on the other side in opposition. And I watched men and women in government. They were on this side, Mr. Speaker. And the PowerPoint presentations were very profound in this corner, comparing the before and after. And notwithstanding the fact that we had won our seats, the 6 of us in opposition, not for 1 year, not for 1 quarter, did we get a penny to preside over a community project in our constituency. And Mr. Speaker, we must ensure that this stays on the record, so that the persons who are coming and they're posturing, wanting to be the alternative to this government, we have to remind them of what they did, not to us, but to the people of St. Lucia, to the people of Dennery North, to the people of Vieux-Fort South and Vieux-Fort North and Castries South and Castries East and Labrie, Mr. Speaker. And they came and they laughed at us, project upon project. I remember saying to the member for Vieux-Fort North, I can stay in Dennery North and smell the concrete in Dennery South because they were pouring night and day. And I could not make an intervention. Not a footpath the length of your table, Mr. Speaker. And this has become legendary now. Not a bag of cement. I would leave the Mabuya Valley to come to Castries to Parliament. Past several hardwares along the way. And I could not procure a bag of cement, not 1 sheet of plywood from constituency development allocation. And Mr. Speaker, but we are a party of class. Notwithstanding the fact that we got nothing for our constituencies, we were in the parliament at every sitting, honoring our duties to our constituents and being a responsible opposition. There were times, Mr. Speaker, when we were leaving this parliament in the wee hours, legislation was being passed when the people of St. Lucia were asleep, Mr. Speaker. We were there ensuring there was a quorum. We were there ensuring that the aura of the parliament was not diminished. And not a penny, not a cent, not a project. So when I see CDP, Mr. Speaker, and I get excited about CDP, it's because there's a history. Because I've been traumatized by a lack of CDP resources when the people of Dennery North, Mr. Speaker, it was their constitutional right to decide who would represent them in Parliament. And because they voted for me in the majority, you can decide as a vindictive and a wicked Prime Minister at the time that you're going to starve me of resources. And they did it out of spite. And in addition to doing it out of spite, Mr. Speaker, they believed that I would have had nothing to show by way of a record when the election came again, and that the people would have turned against me. But that was never going to happen, Mr. Speaker. It was Shawn again, Shawn again, and Shawn again. So when I see $20.8 million, I'm very optimistic that some of my smaller roads and footpaths in Dennery North will be attended to. I am very optimistic that the benching that we started on the Grand Ravine playing field where the contracts were signed this morning, CDP, Mr. Speaker, will continue. I am optimistic because I can continue to buy a 40-foot container to convert it into a changing room or changing facility near the smaller playing fields in my constituency. I am optimistic because I know, Mr. Speaker, from that allocation, I can take care of some of the smaller drainage programs that the resources of the Ministry of Infrastructure may not allow me to. So, Mr. Speaker, CDP is something that is close to my heart. And I look forward to the day when the Prime Minister will tell us very early in the coming weeks how much has been allocated or allotted to each of the constituency. The Prime Minister has done something very commendable with the CDP. He has advised that when you get your CDP allocation, not only should you embark on infrastructure projects, but try to have a social component to your programming. And that is why when the elderly person comes to me without insurance, wants to, Mr. Speaker, pay for a scan with the necessary documentation to ensure accountability, I can go to the SSDF and ask the SSDF to make the payment on his or her behalf, of course supported by documents. When a child, Mr. Speaker, who has enrolled at secondary school for 5 years and cannot come up with $200 or $300 for graduation, and they have to sit out the graduation, it is the CDP allocation I can go to and ask the SSDF again with the necessary documentation to ensure accountability that they can pay for that child and that child can take his or her rightful place at graduation, brimming with pride and confidence after 5 years of hard work at the school system. When people are having difficulty, Mr. Speaker, putting their loved ones to rest after they have passed, it is the CDP sometimes we turn to. And I know many have chided it and have criticized and say we are creating a dependency culture. That is not the case, Mr. Speaker. He who feels it knows it. And there are a lot of things that we take for granted. And it is something I've observed even when I was in the Ministry of Education and scholarships were being distributed. People come and they criticize. People come and they chide us. And people who want to tell you, even on a day when you have had rains and the flood waters are raging, they want you to keep school open. You know why? Because they have the luxury of dropping their children at school in expensive SUVs. But as a Minister for Education, I know that there are children in certain parts of this country, Mr. Speaker, who have to walk themselves to school at the age of 5 and 6. And where we see danger when the waters are rising, they see adventure by dropping a bottle and trying to track it as they race each other downstream, Mr. Speaker. And there's an insensitivity that resides in certain quarters in this country that we must dismantle, Mr. Speaker, and we must crush. So the CDP empowers every member of Parliament, Mr. Speaker. The CDP gives you a flexibility, Mr. Speaker, to be able to make interventions in the lives of your constituents. Mr. Speaker, I move to head 54, Youth Development and Sports. Mr. Speaker, at one time I had the privilege of being the Minister for Youth Development and Sports. And Mr. Speaker, during that time, we embarked on several projects across the country. We introduced lights in Ancillary, Canries, Philip Maslin, Marsha Grounds, Larry Seuss, the court in Bellevue, and a few other parts of the country. But Mr. Speaker, after close to 20 years, you will appreciate that some of those lights have outlived their usefulness. And that is why I must commend the member for Grosile and the current Minister for Sports for embarking on a lighting program, not only installing new lights in new communities, Mr. Speaker, but ensuring those that have become obsolete are being replaced. And as we speak, Mr. Speaker, the lights at the Larry Seuss playing field are being replaced. And only this morning, the member reminded me that I will have 98% daylight when those lights are turned on. He said 90, Mr. Speaker. I stand corrected. But whether it's 90 or 98, I am grateful, Mr. Speaker. And so when I see for the rehabilitation of sports facilities, $1 million, I know that the $1 million in the estimates is not all that will be used to look after the sporting needs of our country. The Ministry of Sports is a parent agency for one of the most sought after statutory entities, the National Lotteries Authority. Mr. Speaker, I expect rehabilitation. I expect work to be done on the toilets at the Larry Seuss playing field. The fencing has been done, and for that I am extremely grateful for the fencing of the Larry Seuss playing field. Prior, Mr. Speaker, to the Minister assuming the portfolio of Youth Development and Sports, the Larry Seuss playing field had a pavilion toilet facilities. But he has ensured that we have the fencing. He has promised that we'll be doing some surface dressing after the lights have been installed, because Black Hat will be returning to the Mabuya Valley once again this year. Mr. Speaker, through the CDP, and hopefully with some assistance from the Ministry of Sports, we intend to construct a multipurpose court at Richford and one at Denyer Riviere. There's no question that the Mabuya Valley is a sporting hub. And for a community, for a constituency with so many pocket communities, Mr. Speaker, we only have one multipurpose court, which is in a deplorable state. But through the CDP, Mr. Speaker, and with help from the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports, I have every reason to believe that a court will be installed or constructed at Richford and one at Denyer Riviere. We have purchased poles for lights, Mr. Speaker, for the Denyer Riviere playing field. The poles are already here in much the same way through the CDP that we were able to get the container. I'm hoping that some of the lumps that are being replaced or that are being removed or decommissioned at some of the playing fields can be used at the smaller playing fields to facilitate physical activity on evenings. Mr. Speaker, one of the things that was being said
Member, you have 15 minutes left.
During the campaign was that Shawn trade spots. Mr. Speaker, very few, if any, in the Mabuya Valley can boast of a better record in sports than what I present. As a community player, a national player, a regional player, and an administrator. Right. So when people come, and the persons who are saying it, Mr. Speaker, that we trade sports, I am one who respects sporting organizations. I will create the enabling environment. I will provide the support to the sporting organizations. But I refuse, Mr. Speaker, to impose myself on the Sports Council or the Football League and dictate their program. I will apply pressure where pressure has to be applied, but I know my role. I know my place as a former sportsman, as a former sports minister. But I am optimistic, Mr. Speaker, that when the lights are turned on, when Black Hat returns, today we have Mabuya Valley participating in national cricket again. It represents a start of a renaissance that will put us back, Mr. Speaker, at the very helm, at the very top, and on the pedestal of sporting activities in this country. Mr. Speaker, lights have been installed at the Grand Ravine playing field. Again, with help from the National Lotteries Authority, we were able to complement whatever resources were made available through the Office of the Prime Minister to ensure that the lights were installed. The lights are on, the surface is being worked on, and I'm hoping that I can invite colleagues to a grand opening in the coming weeks. Mr. Speaker, let me turn my attention to Head 44, Agriculture. And for every year that I've had the privilege to participate and contribute to a debate in this honorable House, Mr. Speaker, I have always spoken on behalf of the banana farmers of this country. Mr. Speaker, moi wè un budget la l'année, $1.7 million qui ka aller pour banana management unit. Ça c'est unit un ministre agricole qui a responsabilité pour ça faire fig. Mr. Speaker, même parlement pour Castries South East do that il wè moun commune a dans jeune, c'est la fig qui paye l'école yo. La pani pièce commune cette lycée. Ko l'argent fig ja touché la vie moun kon Mabuya Valley or Sanoka Creedian North. It was the banana dollar, Mr. Speaker, the banana revenue that ensured that the straw houses were replaced by the mansions you see on the hills of Oleon, Grand Ravine, Grand Rivière, and Dernier Rivière. C'est la fig qui voit un chaïdi nous l'école. Et c'est la fig qui bâtit place qu'on Rodney Bay. Et c'est la fig qui a payé salaire docteur, teacher et puis l'autre moun. Et moi j'ai dit ça ici avant. Fig pas ni force là été ni qu'on temps qui passé. But the dollar circulation today, Mr. Speaker, in the rural parts of this country where banana is being cultivated is very, very necessary for the survival of families. Mr. Speaker, we are a responsible government. We will work with the exporters as we did. And I must single out, Mr. Speaker, for praise the member for Vieux-Fort North when he was the Minister of Responsibility for Agriculture. We assumed government in 2011 when Black Sikatoka was on a rampage, decimating the banana crop. And the minister made an intervention with then Taiwanese ambassador, Ambassador Chung. And Black Sikatoka was brought under control. Production increased. Farmers were happy again. In 2016, Mr. Speaker, 2021, we saw what the member for Denry South did as the Minister for Agriculture. When there were issues with Winera and other challenges in the industry, Mr. Speaker, we know what he did to bring relief to the farmers. And I am very optimistic that with the same enthusiasm of her predecessors, the member for Castries South East and Minister for Agriculture will attend to the needs of the banana industry, herself being the product of a banana producing community. Mr. Speaker, The people of Dennery North have great interest in the citrus rehabilitation and disease eradication project, for which $450,000 has been allocated. I don't know how many persons in this house and elsewhere pay attention to the citrus crop in this country. I have a particular farmer, Lazarus Constantine, in my constituency, who planted hundreds of plants of citrus plants, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, can you believe that in a very short space of time, disease affected the entire crop and he has nothing left to speak of by way of grapefruits, lemons, sour oranges, or other varieties of citrus. So I think this particular program, Mr. Speaker, is timely, and I'm hoping that it can solve the problem being experienced by farmers in relation to citrus production and citrus cultivation. Mr. Speaker, I want to move to Head 53, the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Nutrition. The Larissus Health Center is up and running, and it has been so for almost 2 years now. In addition to the suite of services provided at the Larissus Health and Wellness Center, Mr. Speaker, 2 weeks ago, we commissioned a dental unit at the Larissus Health and Wellness Center. Mr. Speaker, I must thank the Prime Minister and the Minister for Health for that intervention. Mr. Speaker, the Larissus Health Center was destroyed by fire. Yes, we were in government when it happened. When the United Workers' Party, under the leadership of, or the misguidance of the member for Miku South, took office, there was money in the budget for the reinstatement of that particular facility. Health Center. Mr. Speaker, yo tiye la han la. Ou sa pou ki veze yo tiye? Yo pa tiye pis yo kwe moun Dennery North pateni la bouzwen pou sa ke de Kafta Health Center. Mais yo tiye pou pini mwen pis mwen sete yon membre parlement en le side libre. Let us fast track to last week, Mr. Speaker. A range of primary healthcare services. And only 2 weeks ago, in the presence of the Minister for Health, the Chief Medical Officer, the senior dental surgeon, and other technical people from the Ministry of Health, we were able, Mr. Speaker, to commission a dental unit at the Larissus Health Center. So, Jean, qui a ouais docteur Larissus, ça allait dans Health Center, ça là, et que ça va chier dedans. Yo ça occupé dedans yo. Yo ça nettoyer dedans yo. And they are getting top-notch, first-class dental services at the Larissus Health Center. And this is the first time this has ever happened in the Dennery North constituency. Mr. Speaker, I've been reliably informed by the Minister for Health that 24-hour services will be reinstated at the Dennery Hospital. Yes. This is something I've agitated for years. And to his credit, notwithstanding we were on opposite sides of the parliament at the time, the former MP for Dennery South, Edmund Estefan, also agitated and called for 24-hour services at the Dennery Hospital. Mr. Speaker, I've given the story in this house, where when the neighbor comes knocking and they want a ride to the hospital because there's an emergency in the family, when I leave Dennery and I get to the highway, I have to make... Mr. Speaker, the member for Castries North is questioning where I sleep at night.
Remember, to be fair, that's a fair question.
Mr. Speaker, I will not fall to provocation. I will keep my focus. And when you get to the highway, I have to make a decision. Est-ce que je vais aller gauche pour aller St. Jude, ou je vais aller droite pour aller OKEU? Et que c'est la décision qui est pour faire. Ou pas ni pour faire ça encore. When 24-hour services are reinstated at the Dennery Hospital, Mr. Speaker, it will be a 4-minute drive from Dennery Riviere to the Dennery Hospital where our people can get care. And this is not something that will benefit only the residents of my constituency, but Dennery South, Miku North, and I know people who live Bexon and Labei, and they seek care at the Dennery Hospital. So this is a development that I welcome, Minister, through you, Mr. Speaker, and I know for a fact that the people of Dennery North are extremely pleased with that development. Mr. Speaker, housing, Head 48. Housing Assistance Program, $1 million. Mr. Speaker, I cannot make any presentation on the Housing Assistance Program without thanking the Minister for Housing and Local Government for the manner in which he has worked with the Office of the Parliamentary Rep for Denry North in providing relief to the people of Denry North. I have executed that program in my constituency with the tagline, "We do not build mansions, we improve conditions of living." And again, there are detractors who will tell you, what is a plywood house? This is not sustainable housing. But I can tell you one thing, Mr. Speaker. A plywood house provides better comfort for the individual who has to brace the cold pavement exposed to the elements. Mr. Speaker, the person who has struggled to replace a few sheets of plywood on their dilapidated homes, Mr. Speaker, they welcome the intervention when you can say to them that we have put an allocation at a particular hardware, you can go there and get the materials. And in instances where we know genuinely they do not have the capacity to undertake the repairs themselves, Mr. Speaker, we make labor available, and through that same program, the minister is able to help compensate. But Mr. Speaker, with respect to housing in Denry North, there's a much bigger plan. You would have heard me speak about the Madwa. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Madwa housing development. Madwa, c'est à côté au Lyon. Nous appuyons en les ONU pour faire a full development plan, demarcation of lots, drawings for road infrastructure, etc. And I have presented the drawings to the minister with responsibility for housing and local government with a view to him, Mr. Speaker, expediting whatever has to be done so that we can begin to provide lots for the people of Oleon and the people of Denry North generally. Mr. Speaker, Head 52, Education. Mr. Speaker, I am extremely pleased to know that there is money in the budget for the sustenance of the long-term training programs of the Ministry of Education. Mr. Speaker, we have sold as a government the one university graduate per household. We are saying with this program that it doesn't matter your station in life. Once you have the aptitude and the ability, this government will take you by the hand and we will expose you to university education. So based on ability, you can take your rightful place in leadership positions or wherever else you may be needed to make a contribution in this country. Gone are the days when education or university education was a luxury for the rich and the children of the affluent. Mr. Speaker, we are leveling the playing field. And I'm excited, Mr. Speaker, by the start that has been made by the ministers with responsibility for education, the member for Grizzly and the member for Beaufort South, Mr. Speaker. They are young, they are youthful, Mr. Speaker, they are energetic. And that, Mr. Speaker, is being translated to the classrooms, the staff rooms, and the auditoriums of schools in this country. And only yesterday I spoke with a few principals when they were leaving the conference, and they were full of praise for the two ministers, Mr. Speaker. I am very passionate about education, Mr. Speaker, and I know they will continue to build. The Prime Minister would have mentioned that we are getting monies from the Afri-Exim Bank to continue school rehabilitation. With the previous loan, we would have attended to the Plainview Combined School in Beaufort South. We would have attended, Mr. Speaker, to the Payroll School where a new block has been constructed. To one of my favorite schools in the country, I call the SACA, S-A-C-A, the School of Sustainable Agriculture and Culinary Arts, formerly the Grand Riviere Secondary School, a new block. And of course, we have 3, Mr. Speaker, stories being built at the Entry Post Secondary School. Not my constituency, but I know, Mr. Speaker, that a pitch needs to be made for the Afri-Exim for the Balata School, the Baslagwa School, and so many other schools that need attention, including the Olio Combined Infant Block. And through the PERT, Mr. Speaker, I know the PERT is program specific to the extent that the submission that we made to the Caribbean Development Bank speaks to the exact schools and institutions that will be touched, like the early childhood, not early childhood, but the special needs schools in Soufrière, Beaufort, in Castries, and of course the Soufrière Comprehensive Secondary School. So, Mr. Speaker, as an administration, we have delivered to the people of St. Lucia. I believe, Mr. Speaker, that I am part of a formidable team of ministers and parliamentarians. Our country is in good hands. We hear the noise every day. We hear the detractors, Mr. Speaker. They are not concerned about the development of any country. They just want to be in government so that they can do the same mischief to the people of St. Lucia and to parliamentarians as they did then. But the people of St. Lucia are a lot more discerning today than they've ever been. And Mr. Speaker, I know for a fact that whenever the election is called, whether it be in the near future or down the road, it is the St. Lucia Labour Party that will continue to be the better alternative to lead the people of this country and to manage the resources of our country. Mr. Speaker, our Prime Minister is not the reckless one, as would have been said by a senator who has risen to prominence in recent times. But our Prime Minister is the one with steady hands, experienced, Mr. Speaker, capable and responsible. Mr. Speaker, we program for people all over the country. We program for people irrespective of your station in life. We are the government that reinstated the distress fund so that the average St. Lucian whose house gets destroyed by fire can go to the office of the Prime Minister and get assistance to start building again. And we are the same government that investors can be so confident about us, Mr. Speaker, that they can bring in their monies, buy the billions to invest in St. Lucia because of the favorable investment climate that we have created for business in this country. Mr. Speaker, I support the estimates on behalf of the people of Denry North. I support the Honorable Prime Minister's handling of the economy. And Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues to stand firm as we continue to deliver to the people of St. Lucia in our quest to improve lives. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.